Hey folks, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Battle Masters, released in 1992 from Milton Bradley and Games Workshop, sits right alongside HeroQuest. While HeroQuest was the family-focused introduction to dungeon crawling, Battle Masters was the family-focused introduction to Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Designed by Stephen Baker, who would later design HeroScape, along with Space Crusade, and some work on crossbows and catapults, and some of the original HeroQuest expansions, Battle Masters presents a very simple yet incredibly fun set of wargaming rules pitting the men of the Imperial Army against the onslaught of the Chaos forces. Inside the massive box are a few deck of cards, 100 quality plastic miniatures, unit bases, plastic combat dice, a few cardboard chits for keeping track of damage and other things, some additional terrain hexes, a chunky plastic fortress tower, and a huge 4x5 vinyl battle mat. The presentation of everything is big and bold with great sculpts and illustrations, and the table presence is totally off the charts. Especially when everything is painted, and I was lucky enough to play with a buddy who had everything done up expertly. Any kid who owned this back in the day would have been the envy of young gamers everywhere. The most interesting thing about Battle Masters is also the most contentious, and that is the deck of battle cards that controls the entire flow and rhythm of the game. In Battle Masters, there is no initiative, and the players don't even get to choose when their units move and attack. While this severely limits tactical and strategic planning, it does create a ton of drama and narrative at the table. In Battle Masters, a battle card is drawn from the deck each turn. On these cards are illustrations of the various units. Once drawn, the players can activate the units shown on the card. Activation consists of a move and attack action. It's almost a kind of pre-programmed tactical game because once the cards are shuffled, the entire flow of the game is set. While I understand the hardcore tactical player's argument against this mechanism, for me it's not a problem at all. In fact, it's a huge win because of how this creates interesting drama and narrative at the table. As an example, during our second game, the Imperial Mountain Knights were all placed far away from the center of the battle along a road. This gave the impression of them being called into battle. The way the deck of battle cards was shuffled only added to this scenario. Most of the activation cards for these units were clumped together towards the bottom of the deck. For most of the battle, they didn't do anything, and this gave the impression that they were very far away. But then, for 6 or so turns in a row, those battle cards were drawn, and the Mountain Knights came galloping down the road to save the day. I love how the randomness of unit activation added to and bolstered this dramatic event. Once activated, movement and combat are simple, and the turns are fast. Most units can only move 1 hex, some can move 2. After moving adjacent to an enemy unit, the attacking unit rolls dice equal to their combat value, usually between 2 and 5 dice. The dice are marked with symbols for hits, misses, and defense. After hits are tallied, the defender rolls dice equal to their combat value looking to block those hits. Any hits left over cause damage, and most units can take 3 hits before being wiped out. Each of the 2 armies also has a single special unit, and each of these units is governed by a fantastic little minigame. I absolutely love this part of Battle Masters. Fighting for the forces of Chaos is a single Ogre champion unit. The Ogre is controlled by a deck of 6 cards. 3 allow movement, 3 allow an attack. When the Ogre champion's battle card is drawn, the Chaos player shuffles the deck of 6 cards, draws 1 at a time, and completes the actions in order. This can create some wildly funny and dramatic turns. The Ogre champion can be filled with rage and hard to control, and so they might flail away 3 times in a row without a target in sight. Or they might perform a heroic feat, deftly moving into battle, attacking, moving and attacking again, plunging into battle with ferocity. The Imperial army is armed with a massive cannon. When its battle card is drawn, the Imperial player places a cardboard disc on the intended target. Then they take a stack of similarly shaped discs and shuffle them face down and lay them one by one on hexes, creating the flight path of the mighty cannonball. Then, one by one, they reveal the outcome of the target discs. Sometimes the cannonball will fly to its intended target, killing it outright. Sometimes it will bounce along the path, doing splash damage, and sometimes it might stop short. If it stops really short, the cannon can actually misfire, damaging itself. There is a bit of pressure luck involved, and I'm always a fan of that. Each of these two special units adds a ton of flavor and drama to the game, and I can't help but wonder about the possibility of expansions that were never realized. Having battle mages and chaos sorcerers with a deck of random spell cards similar to the ogre's deck of activation cards could have made the game even more eventful and exciting. It's a real shame that the game never got this kind of official support. The game comes with a 5-scenario campaign. We played the first 2 scenarios. I played the Forces of Chaos and my buddy played the Imperial Army. I won the first scenario with an objective of taking control of an Imperial Tower, and my buddy won the second scenario by wiping out all of my units, thanks to that clutch and highly dramatic late-turn onslaught of his mounted knights mentioned above. There is a small amount of progression from one scenario to the next in the form of awarding surviving units an elite status, which allows them to roll 1 extra die in combat. I've always been curious about Battle Masters, and I'm super happy that I was finally able to play it. In my original video for HeroQuest, I mentioned that I never got to play the game when it was released. Even though me and all my friends were already highly invested in RPGs and fantasy tabletop games, I never knew anyone who had HeroQuest, and I never even saw it until years later. This was all very odd considering that we played games like Space Hulk, Space Crusade, Advanced Space Crusade, and Talisman. And the same can be said about Battle Masters. It wasn't until many, many years after its release that I even learned of the game. Both it and HeroQuest were simply off of my gaming radar. But coming to it as an adult allowed me to really appreciate it for what it is, and seeing as how, over the years, I've been gravitating more towards simple games, I had an absolute blast playing it. At the end of the day, while Battle Masters might lack the kind of tactical and strategic planning some gamers might crave, its focus is clearly on one thing: simple, approachable fun, and I think it nails that target with style.